Wait.
Woohoo! Okay, yes, we are into picks and vans, and instantly Verdant here on the blue side actually going to be banning away that rumble, so not going to be able to see that one.
Or a waste of time.
We'll get it at some point, veteran. Don't you worry. But we're also saying
my point though, it got banned away from Catch Coast. All right.
Yes.
So my point stands.
Do you know what? Absolutely, and hopefully we're going to get to see him play it a little bit later on in this series. But we are seeing a few of these sort of engaged junglers being banned away in the Poppy and the Rel, as well as that Jace taken off the board by Nord.
Choice now for Verdant is, do they want to double dip on jungle bans, or do they want to maybe trade some of those power picks? Maokai and Sejuani both still open. Prefer the Maokai if I have my choice of junglers to take as a B1. But with Tristana taken off the board, I think this is going to be a very powerful pick for both of our mid laners as well. Verdant have been slamming AD carries in the mid lane, so Kaisers, Lucians even so far, also worth thinking about as we get later into the draft.
I think a big pick that is open here and is even more valuable with the Kaiser ban is the Azir, right? Omen, if you want to go for these kind of 1k DPM games and the team wants to give you priority on the hyper carry, it is that Azir that you'd be looking to prioritize. Tristana's off the board, that's good into Azir. Kaiser really likes to play in towards an Azir as well. You can't get a Jace Maokai combo anymore as Verdant or a Maokai Tristana combo. Azir goes up in priority unless Niter has something like an artillery mage that he's happy to do, but it looks like they might just be wanting to do Xayah Rakan, which would be very on theme for how Nord have been playing. Rakan very contested across every support right now, but for Nord in particular, undivable roam mid.
And it is Seneca's most played throughout the split. He's played 10 games of it across summer, won 7 of them, and you were highlighting the Xayah as kind of the pick for Hedo as well. So Nord definitely getting a lot of what they want, but Taxa is a known threat on this Maokai coming out of the jungle, and a lock-in of the Exir would make a lot of sense for Niter too.
Now, of course, you could look to see Oman try and match with a control mage. That hasn't particularly... we've seen, honestly, a lot of styles from him. Me trying to pin him down as something like that seems a bit disingenuous. So we may well get to see a bit of a default back to a farm-oriented mid lane, be it a Corki, be it a Victor and Azir matchup, something along those lines. Definitely very possible. For Nord, though, I wouldn't be surprised if they snap up their jungler because they really need to take this Sedge as soon as possible. Otherwise, they're going to be really delving deeper in that jungle pool. Now, in Decision, we've seen his jungle pool be very happily tested, and he'll very, very frequently just pull out something completely out of left field.
So the hovers by Verdant were very heavy on this kind of pseudo-MV carry champ pool that Oman has displayed in the past. Obviously, we're thinking about him now in playoffs as that 1k DPM, nice call on the Sejuani, by the way, as that kind of 1k DPM player, but the Echo, the Kiana, those are viable picks in towards the Nazir as well. And those do feel like things that Oman could look to do, right? He was one of those burst-heavy assassin players. The Ahri was kind of his gateway into other kinds of champs. Ahri would feel like a bit of a waste here, going Ahri plus Sejuani. You have a very low damage midsection now. But it would somewhat synergize with the amount of dive that they have. A dive champion is very possible for Oman. Maybe they don't care about the prospect of Oman going an artillery mage. It wouldn't be something he's used to before. Whereas a melee champion with Sedge and with this dive, that could be the play.
I mean, especially when you consider the style of player that Kachkos is as well. We haven't really had much focus on top lane here, so stuff like the Ken and stuff like the Cassante who want to be diving with that sort of style are up and available for him to pick if he wants.
Looks like different priorities going into the second round of bans, though, and that is to be expected, right? We've got the bot lane fully fleshed out for Nord, where Verdant have dipped into their mid lane pool, so you're seeing those respective bans on either side. The Zeri taken away. Very likely to see another one of those long-range AD carries taken off the board. Ophelio's certainly no exception. And now you get to see Nord as well, see if their mid lane pool gets pinched even further. Bad matchups for the Azir. Maybe we get to see Oman go back to something like a static Shiv LeBlanc even in this game to offer a little bit of an AD damage profile for the midsection early on, and then be able to just be a nuisance in a side lane as well. And we're obviously talking about Nilla. Know that this guy rounds into exceptional form through the playoffs. Need to see that happen, and if there's somebody to try and match him in a side lane that doesn't have to be a tank from Kachkos, it certainly works.
He over the Ahri immediately. Please don't be so boring. Don't be so boring.
I mean, we could have the possibility of Sejuani top, right? I kind of want to see an Evelyn.
Huh?
That's true.
Would be quite spicy for game 1, but Indecision has been known to pull out the weird and the wonderful from time to time. Is
Oh my god.
going to be that lock on the Ari.
Can I interest anybody in
Okay.
some Merc treads?
And point and click
Seems like a
CC.
good buy here.
Right, like Verdant have already got the Nautilus point and click, the Maokai point and click. They have the tools to deal with a Rakan, and in doing so, have the tools to deal with an Ari as well. Right, this is a difficult game to play Ari in. It's a low damage game to play Ari in. Hido's the guy who's going to end up having to do most of the damage in towards the team fights. He'll probably get very high damage numbers in the game, regardless of whether Nord win or lose. But for a team that loves to be playing hard through mid, this is a very difficult one to do that with. Right, so. The Varus is interesting. I think Ari loves that you pick that. I'm gonna be real. That does give her something to play against.
Waiting for that blind pick to be fleshed out in the top side for Verdant now. I think this is that point where Middlecot's flex call obviously has a lot of stake. If they think the Sejuani is going to be fine versus it, they can go for something a little bit spicy for indecision in the jungle.
I like the
Cheeky
Malphite.
R5 Malphite.
I
Yeah?
mean, the Varus can't really play into Rakan, Ari, and Malphite. If they lock this in, it would be into a Renekton as well. Azir,
Yep.
right? Azir's walls do absolutely nothing against the Unstoppable Force. It has really good scaling here, even though obviously it's an AP mid-jungle. I like the Malphite. I think this Varus is going to have a terrible time.
So-
I don't like that pick. It should have been an Ezreal.
So do we feel like kind of what Nord have managed to do with their comp is they've drafted so much dive and so much engage that actually the tools that Verdant have aren't potentially going to be enough, veteran?
Yeah, I mean, when they locked in the Varus, suddenly they had a low mobility carry into this, and they had to just figure out more ways to deal with the Azir, and the Malphite is very good against both a low mobility carry like the Varus, and does have tools that burn things on the Azir side as well. So, I like Nord's drafts overall now. They do still need to have a good early phase, or they could potentially lack damage. We have seen Hido have those, though, on first skirmishes. We've seen this overloading of mid lane work out really well for them, so there are a lot of routes for Nord to be able to pick up a win here in Game 1. Verdant, on the other hand, yeah, in these group situations, in these skirmishes, you can see how Nord could win. They do have really good champions to just win lane here, right? They have really good setups to just do that. So that's what they're going to do. Doesn't really matter, the enemy can have groupings if they can't have any groupings because they're too busy sitting under tower like it's their mother's teat.
I think for me, the important part about these winning lanes are going to be that bot lane. We've highlighted the issues that come from a Varus and the low mobility aspect. I think pairing up with the Nautilus is maybe going to be able to offset a little bit of that, because by the time we see these groupings come through, as Vera mentioned, right, you're expecting to have a very substantial lead down on that bot side. Varus outranges the Xayah in auto attacks by 50 early on or just throughout the entire game. You can get lethal tempo stacked up on the Xayah, then yeah, of course, that's a little bit of an offset, but with a Nautilus as well, very proactive support means that you can very easily look for these engagements, try and take down Hido Seneca early on, try and generate yourself an advantage. We know that Wendell, a very proactive support player himself as well. Game number 1 of the series versus Natives, Verdant all over the map, and Wendell specifically, a very, very stellar Rakan game. No reason that we can't extrapolate that into being a very adept Nautilus player as well.
Eyes on Hido for this game, right? It's difficult to play out Ari into the point and click of the Maokai and the point and click of the Nautilus, whereas Hido has the tools to be able to go through that, and especially they're burning everything on the Ari. He is the man that has to be outputting the damage, right? He has to be playing around that Azir range, he has to be playing around that Varus range, but he is the guy that has to get in there and do the damage. If he's able to do that, right, and they're able to utilize their tools to nullify either the Varus or the Azir at the start of the fight, then Hido could definitely be the force to be reckoned with for Nord this game.
And that's a big responsibility because this is his first competitive split ever. It hasn't felt like it at times because of how high the level of performance has been, but Verdant here, the planned level 1 invade against the side of Nord, but Seneca there enough to spot it out, and not just a spot in the finals on the line for both of these teams, but also a spot at EMEA Masters, at least the playing stage, so not just domestic success, but the possibility of European success for whoever comes out on top in this series.
Yeah, seeding, of course, undetermined, pending our finals this Saturday. you want to go back down to that Maltese AD carry, though, Hido, he's opted for the heal this game, which is really tricky for him to, just because he doesn't have cleanse. And yes, you're playing Xayah. Oh, I don't need to have cleanse if I have my ulti. I'm looking at all of the CC open to Verdant. 4 out of the 5 champions have something that you want to use your Emperor's Divide, or not even Emperor's Divide, use your Featherstorm for to get out of danger. And if you could use your cleanse for one of those, I would have certainly felt a lot safer, honestly, as Hido. But this heal is going to offer him a little bit of fighting power through the laning phase. So, foregoing a bit of that team fight capability for being able to scrap in the early lane.
Catchcross and Nille probably not going to be scrapping too much. Whilst the Renekton has a lot of strength in the early game, Catchcross has kind of just been this player throughout the split who has survived these rough laning phases and had bigger input in team fights. But Nille is likely going to be having the lion's share of the priority, and that could mean that Verdant can make some moves towards Herald when that spawns.
Also get to see Conqueror here for Niter. So very scaling rune once again. Oman opting for Electrocute, so there's that little bit more power through the laning phase. And just adds on to that Verdant happy to sit back, not particularly do too much narrative that we've had specifically from their series, Versive Natives. A lot of scaling on a lot of those champions. The Azir, the Varus going to weirdly do very well later on with a lethal tempo AD carry.
I think the Electrocute speaks a lot to how Oman recognises that he's going to have a very short window to do anything in these fights, right? These point and clicks are going to be down. He's going to have to go in and make the damage count in that moment immediately as fast as possible. There's also something to be said if he's gone into Red Tree and he's gone for something like, for example, Ultimate Hunter, and he's gone for these early damages on the second stanza of the tree itself. He's also going for wave clearance.
Bot lane. I think Indecision might be going for a gank. Taxo attempting a dive. This is going to be risky. Stun comes through from Rooster's Predator. Nille tanking up initially. Catchcross flashes away. Taxo follows him. Oh, the trade of kills in top lane. First blood over to Verdant.
Nille's gonna like that though, right? Catchco's going to lose a bunch of XP under the tower there. Obviously he's gonna be able to TP and it's not gonna be completely game ending, but ultimately you make that play to make sure Renekton can win the lane, and that's still going to be a very good opening situation for Renekton, right? The wave's now going to be coming back in. Renekton can set it up for a repeat gank. You have camps on top side that you want to be doing. Your more valuable camps on bot haven't spawned yet, so Maokai could easily turn this into a repeat gank right now and just get Renekton really, really far ahead.
And that gank on the bot side, hold on.
Ubi has flash, has cleanse, going to be rooted, use the second summoner spell, but it's not enough. Hido getting aggressive in the laning phase and picks up a second for Nord.
Use your flash to dodge the knockup. You know that Xayah root's coming. You know that there's plenty of damage in this 2 versus 2 early on. Very greedy play from Gooby to hold on to those summoner spells for as long as he did. They just initially flashed the knockup, then not had to burn the cleanse afterwards. And it's honestly fairly saddening if you're Taxa in this position, because you managed to find that gank up on the top side, had a very positive play for your top side, and down on that bot side it felt more like Indecision was warding off a play more so than anything, because Seneca had already burned double summoners. Hido also burned a heal down on the gank that we didn't get to see Indecision perform in the bot lane, and Gooby had both of his summoners left, so there was a summoner spell advantage for Verdant across all of their lanes. Unfortunately now, obviously not the case, and bot lane gets that first lead. It's Hido Xayah of all things that finds the first opening for Nord.
Indecision escorting Catchcoast out the top side there. He knew that was a very, very risky moment for him, but look at the midsection, right? Seneca, off of that delayed reset on bot lane, right, that they utilized to make that play, immediately hovers around mid, enables Oman to do these trades, and Niter knows his supports showing up on bot lane, knows Taxa wasn't fully on the map yet, so he can't really aggressively trade back. The enabling of Oman is continuing in this series as it began on the Ruddy series, and Oman's starting to get some advantages from it.
This is a little bit cheeky from Tax, though, starting up the Dragon. Well, his bot lane does have priority, so they're going to be able to shift over, and Nord probably aware that this is going on now, but not going to be able to respond immediately, although saying that, Indecision...
They have mid-push.
Waiting in the wings. Omen has level 6 as well, and Verdant will back away without contesting. Indecision now going to start it up.
Oh, it's, still half HP, so... Could very well see a flip here. Hido first access to bot wave, so if he can get over within enough time, it's going to be an advantage given over to the Xayah even further.
That Honeyfruit healing up Indecision, making sure that Sejuani can maintain position in the river. Gooby off to the side in the tri-brush. Nord, now after losing that mid lane priority,
again.
forced back. Neither team seems willing to give up this early Dragon. Indecision going into the pit, gets the Arctic Assault onto the Xayah. Oh my word, Indecision gets split back. Gooby with the kills, but it's Omen with a double. It's Omen with 3 in the bottom side river, and Verdant run for their lives, but only Lily has one anymore. That's 4 for 1 and a Dragon for Nord.
Oman just got so much value from the Ahri in this early stage of the game. 3-man Orb of Deception through the entirety of Verdant that were fighting in that choke. Managed to dodge out from the Azir shuffle to boop him all away. Indecision, may have actually died in that fight, but it's not the end of the world when you're getting 3-4 kills back, Drake on top of it. A worthy sacrifice there from Bristle.
Nitro did a good job shoving the wave in, trading with Ahri to make sure she couldn't go back in, making sure the fact that Nord didn't make sure that they get mid prior before sliding that Drake up mattered, but Ahri gave up the wave, right? Was going to be in a bad state, had to make that fight work if she goes for it on delay, and made it work. 3 kills immediately, almost a quadra kill in the opening phase. The team Verdant, that normally gets their advantages, playing all 3 lanes out on the first grouping, immediately fall to Nord, and now trying to play those 3 lanes out looks like a very, very daunting prospect.
And I think that's a really important contrast that we need to make, that Oman was able to sack a little bit, got a good fight.
Yeah.
Because Gooby did the exact same thing, but had the opposite outcome. And this isn't a Gooby thing, this is like a team decision to say, okay, you can't go for that wave bot lane, we're fighting for this dragon. So, bites the bullet, says, okay, but if this goes poorly, I've just lost a ton. Because Hido pushes an entire wave in on the bot side, manages to get up to the dragon and has that wave advantage. Gooby, instead of finding the catch of the wave when the fight's won, is dead and doesn't get anything.
Okay, Verdant, though, not going to give up on these neutral objectives as Wendell and Gooby have rotated over for the Rift Herald, and Nord actually strong enough with the 3-person call that they've got here. Seneca roaming through the mid lane that Verdant are going to back away, and that's possibly not as disastrous as the last objective that Verdant contested, but it's Nord finding a bit more pressure, and it looks like they're going to be able to get another prize for it.
Yep, they have all the priorities now, right? They're going to win bot lane off of that fight, they're going to win mid lane off of that fight, then they're going to be able to get these swaps. Verdant
they're going to be able to get the fight on this fight. Wendell flashing away. Indecision actually going back as Omen dashes forward. There goes the unstoppable force, and Gooby running himself.
As cleanse.
But will soon be dropping down, flashing forward from multiple moments of Nord, and Omen with another one. Nord 8 kills to 2, 9 minutes in.
Really nice plays on this top side, making this Ahri pick, honestly, very worthwhile. We were concerned about this potentially lack of damage that they were going to have, but Oman through this early game has managed to utilize the early game of the Ahri, use this electrocute, and make sure that he is finding those kills. 4-0-2 now, working his way towards Leandri's Anguish. Definitely in a position to carry for the team.
We were, and then we saw the Varus, and we were suddenly worried about a lack of mobility. I don't think Gooby's being allowed to have his flash up for more than 10 seconds this entire game. And whenever that thing is down, it's a Malphite, it's a Sedge, it's an Ahri, it's a Rakan. These guys are getting on you. You don't really have the tools to do anything about it. Your theoretical anti-dive tool isn't even up yet, and when it is up, well, Ahri's going to have all the tools to dodge it. Sejuani doesn't care if she tanks it. It doesn't make any difference towards the Malphite, and the Rakan is also a very slippery animal himself. Varus can't really function here at all, and with these damages now out on the entirety of the Nord team, the Nautilus, the Maokai point and click is not going to be enough to make up for that. All of the damage has to be done by Niter, but where's the burst really going to come from, given that Renekton wasn't able to be snowballed while you spent all of your time pretty much feeding the bot side?
Well, it almost feels like Veteran. It's not where, it's when, because we've talked about Verdant having this scaling composition, but it's Nord that have been setting the pace of the play. It's Nord who have been capitalizing on Verdant oversteps, have built themselves a pretty substantial, just around about 2.3 thousand gold lead at the moment. They've got these neutral objectives in their pocket too. Are we worried that our first place regular split team is going to be dropping a game this early on in the series, Rude Dude?
Yeah, generally fairly worried. I think Veteran hit on a lot of the issues that this Verdant competition is going to have a little bit later on. The fact that Gooby is not accelerated, not ahead of the curve on this Varus, definitely very scary. Niter going to have a big sort of weight on his shoulders to try and catch up to do the rest of the damage that you would be expecting from your AD carry. So it is a really tricky situation for Verdant to find themselves in. I do think that they've still got really nice setup around objectives, just things like Maokai and Nautilus. If somebody steps a little too far forward, you've got pick, you've got catch, you've got ways to get yourself into these fights. The question is, do you actually ever want to be in them? And for the moment, the answer is probably no.
I mean, right here, low mobility Varus is completely surprised by that Rakan knockup, doesn't even flash, as Voodoo pointed out, and then this fight, look at the amount of setup that they have. Verdant basically lined themselves up for it. Verdant, as a team, we were saying, in the early game, they want to just be playing out all three of these lanes. They want to deny Nord the skirmishes, but instead, they have the classic ERL obsession with contesting every single objective. This one at this point is basically not contestable. The enemy is far too snowballed, you're far too behind, Azir can't be there, Renekton can't be there, Hiddo will be there earlier than Renekton, you never have a numbers advantage there, you don't have an economy advantage anymore, and your composition, it doesn't want to do this. You wanted to play out lane, you wanted to win lane, that started going a bit badly by some cheese plays like the bot play from Nord, but the groupings, those were never going to be yours unless it was a really strong, fast situation for you to just get the neutral, get out, and get back to playing lane. Instead, they played Nord's game, and Nord are winning.
Yeah, and it feels like they're opting in. It's not necessarily the fights are being executed badly. They're just going for ones that they shouldn't be attempting to execute on. And I think this is a problem that Verdant sort of displayed in their series versus natives. They will commit to the call, and that's oftentimes a good thing, but sometimes the call just ends up being wrong, and the enemy team is able to come back, able to get a Baron, able to extend this series, send themselves to the final, and you're here facing off against a team in a matchup that maybe you shouldn't even be playing. So it's rough to see those mistakes coming out this early on in the series. We know that Verdant is a team that can have stamina in these series and push it later, but worrying signs, but what a boon for Nord, right? To be able to start off the series in this fashion, it's kind of perfect, Veteran.
Oh yeah, no, it is, and it is similar role reversal to last split, right? Like, Nord were the super team, Verdant were the guys that had to fall back on rookies. This time around, Verdant are the ones flexing their cash, trying to essentially buy their way all the way through. And Nord are the guys that had to fall back on these much more unknown rookies, and the rookies are once again winning. There's a lesson there to be learned, I feel like, that we have to relearn every single split, but no one ever does. But I'm happy for Class to be in session once again, no matter which org it is that's doing it. Nord should be very proud of what they've done so far, because yeah, you're right, like, the Verdant calls, they're just not there. The Nord calls are, but it's the Verdant calls you would expect to be on.
Nord on vision as they walked into the jungle here, so Wendell very appropriately takes this much safer pathing. Niter, now you're going to have to do the same.
I was aware there could be danger, but not aware where the danger's coming from. It's in your jungle, it's in your face. And it's a second death for the Azir, Nord continuing to make plays.
Again, that for me is just a little bit too awkward. You know Taxa and Wendell are on their way through, and you're looking at the enemy champions, right? Ahri, Sejuani have insane engage range, unless you've got the reaction times to flash instantly.
Edo flashing instantly as the hook came out from Wendell, having to burn a couple more summoner spells than he would have liked there, but still, Nord with the goldie feel confident enough to start up the Drake. Verdant just can't contest.
Okay, but it was another cheese pick. So the reason the bot lane pick against Varus worked out so well is because Varus, by all rights, was expecting Xayah and Rakan to just have recalled. If Xayah and Rakan are not recalled by that point, they can't get onto mid on any decent timing, they're off on all of their timings, they shouldn't have been in that rush. That's why Varus got caught out like that. The reason Niter was there is because if those guys aren't right now diving on bot lane, they're just going to lose midsection, and they're going to lose more from that and from a repeat dive on top that Verdant could do than if they showed up. But instead, Nord don't show up on bot. Nord, in fact, wait for Niter to hover bot side, ready to come in delayed to defend that dive, and they take him out with it. Nord are making small you could say quote-unquote incorrect decisions, suboptimal decisions, but they're designed around the set plays they know Verdant will do, and they're catching them out as individuals for it.
Ooh, Omen being called out in the mid lane, just as we were singing his praises. It's going to get one more dash to safety, and actually might be a turnaround play for Nord. Flashes back over the wall, gets the charm, down onto Niter. And Verdant, they thought they had a play, but Nord throw it right back in their face. Taxa twisted, advancing away, but Seneca, with the quickness, gets right on top of him. Double for indecision. Nord are running the show.
Oman had a beautiful play to escape there. He waits on his flash until Niter uses the Q. As soon as that reposition... No, Gooby!
Gooby, Heido with the movement. Oh, he's not been super involved since that dragon fight, but he's still making plays.
That's a feels bad for Gooby there. Just a slight little... It's such a subtle sidestep to get away with. But Heido, again, as ever, performing very well.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, we just have to say it straight up. Like, Nord are so far ahead that if you're not able to make a fast burst play on them, you're going to lose the fight over time.
Yep.
And where's that burst? It's DPS on mid lane, it's DPS on bot lane. This isn't like a lethality Varus or something like that. Azir, we don't exactly think of some Luden's assassin champion, and he certainly doesn't buy his build path either. Renekton was going to be that burst. We haven't seen anything from the Renekton since the initial dive Taxa made, because Taxa's had to spend so much time not even putting out fires. The fire has come towards his jungle and has spread all throughout the forest, and the team has been having to defend that and be getting picked up progressively more and more. The entire game plan for Verdant's being disrupted. Nord are in the driver's seat. It's very difficult to see how Verdant could make the comeback play here.
Oman here
now,
first.
Those plays are going to translate into objectives, into towers. Taxa is in the river, which isn't the usual place to find a tree. Omen is going to be able to dash over with the Spirit Rush. Charm going down onto the Marco, but he's still pretty tanky. Leandris from Omen is actually going to be able to do a fair bit more damage, but Niter is here. Should his jungler require assistance? So burning the ult, but not gaining too much from it. But Nord still using their lead, getting things with it. They're not sitting on these early kills. They're pushing the tempo continuously, and Verdant don't have an answer.
Second Herald live as well, just in time for Nord to transition all of their members back up to this top side. You see in the bot lane, Heido playing incredibly respectfully, basing so far under his turret that he can't possibly get picked off by the duo of Verdant. So complete neutral objective dominion going the way of Nord through this early game. 2 Drakes, 2 Rift Heralds, starting off this game with an absolute bang, and 5k to the good. Their gold lead matches the fact that they've got these neutral objectives in their back pocket as well.
Wonder where this Herald's going to be dropped. They've only taken out bot tower, right? And they have the option with the map tempo they have to just put their bot lane on towards top, play that out, keep running them around the map, right? It is on Verdant to put their ADC, their support in towards midsection to try to counter that play. It does look like they want to do that. Any other state of the map, they're just going to lose faster and faster and faster. But the question is, where do you want to drop the Herald, right? I think you just drop this mid, you get that priority, take the Drake from it, and possibly just take out mid tower in one swipe, and then the top tower will fall very, very easily. Bounties are up on the towers at 16 minutes for Verdant. So if you give up this tempo for that Drake, you do give up a lot more, and it's not that worth. So they do need to make sure that this Herald is used for tempo to make sure that Verdant don't get a trade-off, because a trade now will be very valuable.
You see, they're just going to push in this mid wave. The charge just takes this down. Drake spawns in 5 seconds. The timing on all of this from Nord, generally speaking, very impressive.
I think that's the thing. It's been so complete a game from them. They've not only continued to force these successful fights, but they've been picking up all these objectives basically on time, and that's going to ring alarm bells, right? Because Verdant need to contest a team that is not only playing faster than them, but a team that also seems to be as smart, if not smarter than them in this series.
I mean, if the game of League of Legends is all to do with taking every objective, then Nord are the guys that drafted for that purpose. Verdant don't even seem to understand what their composition wanted to do. They also seem to be very uncoordinated on those contests, right? Like, on that initial Herald contest, you had the bot lane on top side there, you had a kind of non-committal Taxer there, but Azir couldn't even be there. Like, what were the comms going on there? This is a very Nord play.
Yeah, and it appears to be working, but here comes Seneca to provide some CC, and
No
Omen is
burst!
surviving! Omen is thriving, and Verdant are moaning that their champions don't do enough damage. Unstoppable kill for the Ari, his 5th of the game, and game
Lovely
1,
snipe.
I almost want to call it done here. Verdant getting massacred in the top lane as Nord find 3.
Yeah, we can chalk it up, guys. 14-2. You're not able to find the pick with Maokai Nautilus on your side. The wallet diff is just going to hit a bit too crazy. Yes, Nat is able to secure an objective bounty down on that bot side, but overall, Nord are just getting rewarded everywhere they go.
There's a world where Nyla does enough damage to make that work, but that was a world where you got repeat ganks off on top side, you were able to heavy snowball the Renekton ahead. Otherwise, you're a losing team with a useless champion. The options just don't feel like they are there for me. Not to be completely doomer, but honestly, where is the fast play? And if you can't make fast plays, how does the Ari Xayah team struggle? Especially given the minor technicality that they are 7.2k gold ahead.
And Aragon just turning in his chair right now, hearing you call Renekton a useless champion. How dare you with such a... such a lead that Nyla was able to build up. Look at that assist differential. Oh wait, yeah, it's just all Nord at this point. Catch costs. You mentioned it earlier on, and when you mentioned that Nyla had that early assist, there was a 10 CS difference in his favor, and it's just one of those things that does not matter. That's the only advantage that you found for your top side for this Renekton versus a Malphite. What was even the point? Catch cost has been unmovable on that top side, found a kill back when he got dove, more than happy to take his trades.
I'm of the strong belief that each series has its own individual meta that crops up over time.
No, Omen, you can't just do this in Tax's face. Nita, your mid lane is dead! Your mid lane is dead, Nita! You've just watched him be assassinated, Omen. Oh, if that charmed, the turnaround kill was potentially there, but
I think
I don't know what that was.
I think Nita knows, mate. He's the one that died.
Yeah. Nita got given a little bit of the smoke right there, and indecision, didn't even have to be there to answer that top play instead. More than happy to just group up with Seneca, make sure that they're securing vision. They've got soul spawning in 2 minutes time. You see down on that bot side a little bit of vision already layered. We've got a couple of pink wards through the river, so Nord's game plan for here should be fairly rudimentary. They've got about 20-30 seconds before they need to head back down to that bot side and sort of defend any vision before that Drake spawns. So they can spend a bit of time up here.
Might be engaged on. Seneca going to turn with the quickness into Grand Entrance combo. Beautiful stuff coming through. Hido keeps getting the kills. Nord keeps winning the fight. Zilla is going to teleport in to his doom. It's a triple for the Xayah. Nita running away, jumping over walls, chased relentlessly by Omen, and Nord find a clean ace.
I think Taxa was just staring into the void on the top lane play, saw the future, saw that it was all death, and then met that future about 10 seconds later with this play. Hido outputting obscene levels of damage, the point and click that can hold down the Ari, though as we've seen there appears to be absolutely no damage to do anything about that with. Just useless against Hido on this Rakan with that ultimate. Man didn't even have to burn flash, and the fact that there's no damage is just a cherry on top from Verdant. Very, very clean fight. Hido's damage that's probably going to be pretty high at the end as predicted at the start. And yeah, I mean, one tower down on bot though, Yeah,
I mean, safe for that tower and those 2 kills. Nord are almost perfect gaming Verdant, and this completely throws all of our expectations for this series out of whack. Apart from if your name is Ruthud and you've got the biggest brain in the world, Omen potentially going to bet picked, but Verdant, it doesn't seem like they even recognised that the Ari was here. Meanwhile, the rest of his team is getting engaged on in the jungle. Kaxos has teleported in the backline of Verdant, is being beaten up by Nord. The Malphite ulti is a potential here. Verdant are grouping up, he's going to get it onto 2 into the backline. It's not clean, but it doesn't matter. Nord wipe the floor with Verdant. Are going to grab one more kill for themselves. Another triple for Hido as Omen finally went down in the melee. Dragon is on the board. Towers to take as well. Nords, it's just a victory lap at this point.
And it's a -10 stacks on the Medjais for Oman. That's like the smallest copium that you can find as Verdant in this situation. Tax is getting chased to literally the other ends of the map. Zero chance of him getting in to stop the Soul. And with Nord being so far ahead, 13,000 gold, they don't have to be specific. They don't have to be clean with their engages. If Catch Cost only finds 2 with a Malphite ulti, doesn't matter. They want to spend resources going for mid lane and bot lane at the same time. It does not matter. They're so far ahead. This game is so over that Nord can do what they want on the map.
There's some good news here, though, right? Which is that at 3 kills, they are now 2 kills away from getting their ultimate stacks finished.
Ooh, true. They just have to kill Hido, who's almost highest level in the game, 9 kills and double item on everybody in the game.
Which
but he
means
doesn't
they'll
have
also get a
cleanse.
bigger bounty. True.
True.
No cleanse.
I mean, it really is copium at this point, but how do you even react to a game like this as Verdant coming through as, not going to say favourites because of the predictions of certain people, but definitely a team that could have been reasonably predicted to win, but now you are falling apart. You're going for Hail Mary engages in your own jungle, and you can barely scratch Indecision, so when the damage turns up, it's gone. It's over. More and more kills for North. This is going to be the final fight of the game if they're able to push through a result of this. And it's going to be a lot of questions for Verdant to answer in the brief time between this and game 2. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to end it quite yet, but mid lane inhib down, bot inhib soon to fall.
A matter of time at this point. The game now plays itself for Nord. In case they didn't have a big enough lead in the gold department, the map state is just so favourable for them. They're going to have pushing super minions mid lane, super minions bot lane. They can go 5 to the top side of the map, sit and wait for the super minions to crash into Verdant's base. The second somebody shows on the Nexus turrets, you can just dive. You've got Malphite, you have Sejuani tanking these turrets is a formality, and Nord should be able to close this out without the need for the next Baron, the Elder. These types of things, they're great if you need them to snowball an advantage, but Nord, they've got everything in the world that they could need for this map state.
I'm just staring into the void and feeling what it's like to be Taxa.
It's just awful, but you've got to play a rest of the series after this game, right? It's not all over. Best of 5, still plenty of chances to come back, but...
And I dare say as well, this is one of those... For me, in this situation, I'd actually find this really easy to come back from. Because you just go, well, you know what? We shouldn't have taken that first Drake fight. Or, well, maybe with that first Drake fight we could have taken, but we, scuffed it, and then we just shouldn't have taken the second Drake fight. That's a very easy fix that you can just say, have a coach go, okay, you don't win first Drake fight, don't fight it. And then you just go again.
Okay, I'm gonna have to counter point there. What's gonna happen there is one person says that, right? That you... Okay, so it's over, by the way. I'm gonna ignore this.
It's just absolutely over. It's
one
completely
person
nothing
says...
to be done. Yeah.
One person says, alright, okay, we should never have taken the Drake fight. And then the person who made the call, now being accused essentially of losing the whole game off of it, is going to be like, no, we could definitely have won the Drake fight. And the whole situation gets exacerbated, and that you get nothing productive from it, and you have to tell them to calm down, and that atmosphere is going to go terribly until they manage to get a win, which they have to get the next game. Right now, the best thing that you can do is not even talk that much about